Hello, my beautiful people. It has been a really long time since I've come on and posted a video. And it's probably going to be a bit of a shock for me to pop up in your feed again, as it has been some time. And I'm working with maybe the possibility of coming back on here a bit more often and doing a little bit more, but I'm just trying it out. I'm just feeling into it and just taking it as it comes. But something happened today, and I had a spark of inspiration that came to me like literally 10-15 minutes ago. And I was watching something and I just thought, I really want to make a YouTube video about this. I really want to come on and talk to you guys about this topic. So to give you some background, I was on YouTube, I was on here, and I was just watching some videos. I was kind of on shorts. I was meant to be looking at recipe ideas. I was trying to get a meal plan together for the week. And the algorithm kind of sent me in a completely different direction. And I, like a fool that I was, stayed on and paid attention to what it was sending me. Anyway, there was this reel that came up, this shorts video, where there was a couple. So I don't know if they were married, but they were a couple together. And the man, the male in the couple, was saying to his partner, trying to like make the statement around how he pays for everything. He pays for the mortgage, the bills, how it's not split, it's not equal, and how, in his opinion, he didn't think that it was fair. And he was talking to his partner when he was expressing this and asking her and saying, do you think that this is fair, that I should be paying for all of this, and you're not even paying for half, and all of that kind of thing. And it triggered something within me. And I went and had a look in the comment section, and they were kind of what I thought they were going to be. There was a lot of agreeance around the point that he was making. And it just wasn't one of those pleasant comment sections at all. But I really wanted to come on and talk about this, because actually what I felt when I watched that video, that reel, was a real sadness for both people in that relationship. For the man who was expressing, clearly he was expressing an upset in the situation that he had between him and his partner. And you could also hear from the response of his partner when she was receiving what he was saying to her, when he was questioning to her. You could feel her, her kind of sadness in it, because I think she was sort of saying, I don't know, is it fair? But there was also an undertone in her voice of like, well, this is just how it should be. So I really wanted to come on and just unpack this from my point of view and just share this, because I have been, like, my whole life has been knee deep in relationship work from an embodied experience point of view. So I'm not going to come on here and say that I have not done any studying, any formal studying in the topic or whatsoever, but I have lived a lot of life around this topic. So ever since I was a child, romance and relationships and anything to do with that topic were just my obsession. Like, as a kid, I would watch hours and hours worth of films. I would read books. Like, I would play with my Barbies, and it would be husband and wife. It would, it would be like marriages. It would be like having babies. Like, I was just obsessed with it as a topic. And I also have lived through my own parents' divorce, which was fascinating to be. It wasn't at the time because I was like 7 and I was a really young child, but like as an adult now, like, it was really fascinating to watch what happened in that breakdown between these two people that I knew, intimately. And I also have my own marriage of like lived examples. I've been with my husband, oh my goodness, how long have I been with him now? 16 years we've been together, and we've been married 14 years this year. Is that right? I don't know. It's now getting to that point where we've been together so long, I'm really forgetting numbers on it. But it's been a while. And like, I have like one of the most beautiful relationships with my husband. And so when I kind of saw this reel, it really saddened me, because I'm going to like break it down into like the two different points of view of each individual, because I don't think either of them are actually in the wrong. And this is like where I feel really saddened by it. And I will kind of like get into why that is the case, because I'm not here to say the man's right, the woman's right. Like, it's not about that at all. And I think this is the point that most people miss in these kinds of things, is they just jump on the bandwagon of like whoever's side they want to be on. But one of the things that I can say from having lived through my own parents' separation and from watching other friends go through the same thing is that it is never one-sided. The thing that I always stick by is it takes two people to make a relationship and it takes two people to break them. Now, what can happen is you will have one person that tends to step forward more so in the breaking of that relationship. And that's what, like, they're the person that the blame tends to get placed on the most. So, for example, especially if somebody like cheats, if somebody's unfaithful, they are the individual that broke it all. But the thing is that if you look at the entirety of that relationship, that was just literally the last thing that breaks it. It will be leading up to that point of getting to someone doing that last, going beyond that last point where it's not savable anymore, or where it's kind of like a physical action that happens where both parties are able to go, right, that was like the final straw. We end it, even though like both people probably wanted to like be out of it before then. And so this is why, like, when I watch something like that, it's not that the man's wrong, it's not that the woman's wrong. Like, I can see where both of them are coming from and where both of them are having discomfort, and where they're not finding fulfillment in their relationship from it. So I'm going to unpack the man first, because that was, he was the one kind of like talking mainly in the reel. So what really saddened me about like listening to that man is the way he was talking to his partner, saying how he didn't believe it was fair for him to be paying all of those bills and that she wasn't contributing. And the thing that really saddens me is that when a man like truly loves a woman, and obviously the woman has to be in a place to kind of allow herself to be loved, and I'll unpack that a bit more when we get into like the female side of things, is that it doesn't even become a question. Like, his devotion is so strong that he would literally like, walk in front of danger for her. He would sacrifice his life for that woman. Like, that is how powerful it is when a man truly loves a woman. Like, because he's in his full essence of wanting to provide and to protect. And I really don't care about all this modern day bullshit around it. That is not the case. Like, everybody sits on a spectrum. Some men will have that instinct much stronger than others. Everybody does. Nobody is the same. Like, it's not about trying to stereotype people. But when you speak to most men who are really connected with that part of themselves, it is a natural instinct to want to provide and protect for not just the woman that they love, but the people that they love, their family, their friends, their communities. It's a natural instinct within them, just as it is a natural instinct within women to want to nurture. It's kind of like, it's the same It's the same desire within both men and women, but it's just being expressed in different ways. And so, like, when I look at my own example, so I have been a stay-at-home mum for the last 8 years. So as soon as I had my first baby, which was 8 years ago, I left my corporate, really high-paying job. I was like the main breadwinner at the time, to become a stay-at-home mum. Because for me, that was just personally something that I always wanted to do. And my husband was in full support of that. And so for the last 8 years, he has been the main breadwinner. He has done all of the financial contributions to our home, to our marriage, all of that kind of thing. And it's really interesting because we kind of got to this point where the kids are getting older now, and we're now at this point where they're both at the point of going into full-time education. So I now have Monday to Friday, 9 till 3:30 available to me. Now, I know a lot of like people in relationships where I've heard the man instantly turning around and saying to his partner, it's time for you to go back to work now. You need to start like paying in your financial contribution to this. And what was like so beautiful was it wasn't even on my husband's radar. Like it just wasn't even like something he considered even like saying to me, anything like that. Because here's the other thing that really saddens me about the man in that reel, is that he has probably never experienced or never had the eyes to see the true value that the feminine brings. And like, I can hold my hands up and say that as a feminine woman, as a woman, I struggled myself for so many years to see what the feminine actually brought to our house, our household, our relationship. Because when I left to become a stay-at-home mom, I was so guilt-ridden constantly about the fact that I was not financially contributing. Like, I was doing all of the housework, I was raising our children, I was awake with them throughout the whole night. I mean, you know, I don't need to go into the details. Like, I was, full-time mothering and looking after our household and cooking all the meals, and, and that was what I chose to do. That was, I wanted to be at home to raise my kids. The little me when I was a kid who always used to play mums and dads with her Barbies and things, I had always dreamed of being that kind of mum. But for so long, like, I struggled so much to really see what my contribution was. Because I think for a long time, I even thought my contribution was the housework, was, I need to just clean more. I need to make more meals. Like, I need to, constantly give to everybody else to make up for the fact that I wasn't bringing in like anything financially. Because one of the kind of problems that we have, I think, in nowadays society, is we are so focused on like masculine examples. Scratch the male part, it's about energy. It's masculine examples of providing things, of creating things. And the thing is that the masculine energy lives in the physical world. That's why money is quite often seen as a way to measure somebody's success or somebody's contribution. And the problem that we have is that the feminine lives in the non-physical. The feminine is energy, it's intuition, it's more of that inner world. It's not something that is really visible to see. Now, you can see it if you have the eyes to look for it. But again, the feminine is more about like a feeling than like something physical. Whereas the masculine is all about the physical. It's about, strategy and focus, and obviously things like money tie into all of that. And so it took me 8 years of a lot of inner work and a lot of deep going within myself and also watching what was happening in my reality around me, to finally realize, because this is how long it took me to drop the guilt around not going back to work and not contributing my financial half to everything. Like, to finally see what my feminine contribution actually was to this household, beyond me just being like a slave scrubbing floors, to somehow make up for my half of the contribution to our family. And I remember I had this moment with my husband, and it was such a tender moment, because I had finally started to understand my own self-worth. Like, especially as a woman, like, I really started to understand what I was contributing to the household that actually, you know, was on the same level as a financial contribution. And I remember, like, I had this moment with my husband, and like, it was kind of like an intimate moment that we had together. And I said to him, I said, I think I'm finally ready to just let you take care of me. Not in this kind of damsel in distress way, not in this I can't do any of this for myself kind of way, just in this, I think I'm ready to just receive your love through the provision that you want to give to me and our children, and to actually feel worthy to receive that provision from you. And it really shocked me what he said to me in response to that. And he turned around and said to me, you don't know how long I've waited to hear you say something like that to me. And it hit me then that I'd actually been doing him a disservice by not allowing him to fully step into his masculine, which was to feel the effects of his provision to, like, the woman that he loves most in the world, to feel the effects of that provision for his children and his family. And it really hit me. It really knocked me a little bit. Now, going back to the reel, okay, so you could say, that man's providing everything. So why is it that that same scenario is not happening for those two people as it was for me and my husband? And this is where we look at, like, the female perspective. This is where we look at why that man was probably having the opinion of, this is not fair. This is not, you should be paying half. Why should I be doing everything? Because the thing is, when a man is, like, truly in his embodied masculine, and when he is in a relationship with a partner who is equally devoted to him, that doesn't even come on his radar. Like, all those years and years I spent, and I am now writing my own romance novel because of all of this, like, knowledge that I have around this, and because I have a story that's desperately trying to tell itself through me, but that's a whole nother video. Like, the hero, like, would do anything for her because he loves her that much. So that's why when I was watching this reel, I was like, okay, something's going on here, because a man who is, like, that much in his embodied masculine and was in a relationship with a woman who he was receiving that same devotion back from would never utter those words. He would literally be saying, tell me what more I can give you. Tell me how else I can lay the world at your feet. Not, you should be paying half. This is not fair. It would literally be like, tell me in all the ways I can shower you with devotion. And so this was what I picked up on from the woman in this reel, was her response. And, like, I can't remember it, like, word for word, but there was something about, like, the tone of her voice that really got me, which to me suggested, now obviously I don't know these people, but this just came up as an example and I just thought it would be like interesting to talk about it. There was something about her tone of voice that to me was suggesting that she potentially had no regard for all of the work and the effort that he was actually putting in to provide. Because this is what I see happen quite a lot, is that the man will be providing, he will be like doing what he can, but if he's not getting the appreciation and the admiration from his partner through his efforts, this is where resentment starts to creep in. And this was why I kind of looked at it and just felt sad, because I could hear that in his voice, that, like I say, he was not a man who was overtaken by devotion for his partner, but she didn't sound like a woman who had given him any reason to devote to her, because you could kind of surmise from the tone of her voice that she maybe would never have never uttered a thank you to him, like, or a recognition of what he has done for her. Because this is the thing, like, one of the things that I learned from my own marriage, and it felt really strange when I kind of came across it, and it almost was like, it was one of those things that it was like, is it really this easy? Not in a manipulative way at all, but like, is it really this simple? And I'll give you an example of like how this came out like most strongly, of how for men, your appreciation and your gratitude and your recognition of his provision and his protection and, you know, everything that he provides and devotes to you is what he's doing it for. Like, he doesn't want you to pay half the bill. He just wants to feel recognized for providing that for you. So there was this time once we had, we've been in our house like quite a while, and we just have been so slow to renovate it. It like needs lots of like work doing to it. It like needs painting, and it's kind of funny. My house is like one of those houses where you go around and there's like loads of half things done, because I've suddenly got some inspiration one day and I'm like, right, I'm going to paint this wall. I'm going to do this. And then something else comes along and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do this now. And I get busy with all these different things. And then there's all this half like done stuff around our house. And it was like my eldest's, I think it was like her 8th birthday party. It was like last year. And she was having like a slumber party and she was having some friends come over. And I knew that like their parents were going to like, you know, come in briefly to drop the kids off. And I just felt so conscious about our house, because it really does need like quite a lot of work doing to it. And my husband like heard my distress call. You know, I didn't say anything to him like directly. I just, you know, was expressing to him that I was really conscious about people coming into our house, because I really like for people to be able to come in and kind of feel welcomed. And, you know, yes, that's about my energy, but, you know, it was just a sense of pride in like my house, and I didn't feel it was like at that point, and I was just a bit embarrassed about letting people in the house. Now, my husband is the kind of man who he genuinely doesn't care about anything like this. Like, he really is not bothered by what people think at all in that sense. So I know that this had no impact on him whatsoever. But he heard that I was, you know, really distressed about it. And so like a couple of nights before they were like all due to come, he like came to bed like really late, and like, which isn't unusual. Sometimes like he'll stay up and he'll do like writing, or he might do gaming or something like that. And so I didn't really think anything of it. And then he got up really early the next morning, and I kind of just, you know, stayed in bed. There was nothing that we kind of needed to get up for. I just thought that, you know, he couldn't sleep and he'd come downstairs. But I kept hearing like funny noises downstairs, and I was like, something's going on down there, you know, when like your intuition starts sparking. And I was like, okay, something's happening down there. he's up to something. And he came upstairs, and I think he'd even made me a hot drink to like bring to me in bed. And he came upstairs, and it was so like adorable. He had all these little paint splashes on his face, like in his beard. And I just knew as soon as I saw him what he'd been doing. And I didn't say anything because I didn't want to like take that from him. And he said to me, he was like, can you go downstairs and I don't know I can't remember what he asked me to, like feed the dogs or go downstairs and like make some breakfast or something like that. And I was like, okay. And I was sort of like, I was like, this has got nothing to do with like feeding the dogs or making the breakfast. He just didn't really want to like tell. I think he wanted me to walk down. And so I walked downstairs, and he had stayed up like all night, got up early like that morning, and he'd painted like our entire kitchen and all of our hallway. And like there was like all masking tape everywhere where he taped everything off, and he'd gone to the shops to go and buy some new paint to like put on it and everything. And I came upstairs, and I sort of like braced myself for it because like I'll admit, the old part of me really wanted to jump in. I could see like places where the paint had gone on, like the skirting board a little bit, and it was horrible actually how that part of my brain started running the show. And like looking for the imperfections and like, okay, you did it, but it wasn't done like all of this kind of thing. And I was like, no, this is not how I want to approach this. Like, this man has stayed up to like stupidly late and got up stupidly early to do something that he doesn't even care about. Like, he doesn't care when people walk in our house if they see that it's like half done. Like, he doesn't care about that at all. But he knew that it bothered me, that it was something that I was conscious about. And so I like focused in on that, and I went upstairs, and I said to him, like, I just curled up with him in bed, and I just said to him, like, thank you so much for doing that for me. And it was 100% genuine. And I tell you what, the smile on that man's face, he could not hide it. He was kind of trying to slightly, but I literally felt the energetic like pride swell off of him. And I said to him, like, and I actually got really emotional about it. Like, it just came out of nowhere. And I just said, like, you don't know how much that means to me. I can't believe you stayed up and you did that for me. And I really like felt it, and I really received it. And I really showed him me receiving that and how grateful I was for that. And that man was literally lit on fire by my gratitude. And I had this like really odd moment afterwards where I was like thinking, is this all you need to do? Like, again, not in this like manipulative way. Like, it's not like, oh, if you just say your like pleases and thank yous, like they'll do everything for you. Like, it's not about that. Like, it's, you know, it takes a lot to stand and receive something fully that somebody wants to give you, and to feel into that, and then to respond from a genuine place about that. Especially when you've kind of trained your system completely out of it. That is not an easy thing to do. But I was kind of like, is this all you want in return from me? You know, instantly I was like, well, maybe I can like repay it. Maybe I can go and like, I'll make you breakfast and I'll go do this and I'll go, you know, do that. And I was instantly in that, I need to equalize this. But when I saw like his face, and then I saw him like for the rest of the day, like he kept sort of like, you know, saying, oh, this bit was a bit tricky up here, and you know, and like you know, I hope the paint color's right, and all of this kind of thing. And like I could feel the pride in himself because of like that reaction that I had like given to him. And so what was like really sad when I watched that reel was I could understand why that man was probably in that place where he had that point of view, why he was expressing the injustice of it to his partner. Because I tell you what, if he had have experienced true appreciation for all of the work that he's done all of the provision that he's given, then there's no way he would be stood in a place where he's going, this is injustice. Like, he would literally be saying, tell me what else I can do for you, kind of thing. And, you know, I felt sorry for the woman as well, because to have your man turn around and throw his like provision in your face like that. Now, again, this is why I say, like, it takes two to tango. Like, both of these individuals are causing this reaction between the two of them. Like, the polarity is out here, basically. But like, to feel that back of like, to not have a partner that wants to like devote himself to you in that sense is painful. And it was just really sad. And then obviously in the comment section, there was lots of reinforcing that it's not fair. Like, why should we have to pay for it all? Like, it should just be 50-50. And like, this is the thing, like 50-50 does not just mean like 50% financially. Like, I think so many people get this so wadded up because it's all about equality. But equality does not mean the same. It just means equal respect. Like, and this is the thing, like, men and women are different creatures. We are different beings. We have different preferences. And so my contribution of 50-50 does not look like, in our relationship, me contributing financially. And even if I did start to bring in money, which I can foresee that happening in the future through my own ventures, that money, like how we work it in our like relationship, in our marriage, my money would never go towards the security aspects of our family, because that's my husband's realm, is to keep the roof over our head, is to pay for our food, is to pay for us to keep the lights on, you know, all of that kind of thing. My money would probably go towards things like investments or the fun stuff like having the holidays, you know, renovating the house, like doing things like that. And that's just how we've chosen to do it. Like, everybody is completely different. But the thing is, like, you know, like, my contributions from the feminine aspect are completely different to his contributions from the masculine. Like, and I'm not saying you can't be in a relationship, like, and it's not a solid relationship if you're both contributing financially, but it's just, this is the one that always sparks a lot of attention, and it's the one that just sparks a lot of debate. And like, it's just really interesting, like, because to me, like I say, when you get a man who is arguing for the injustice of it, it's because he's not in a place where he actually feels like he wants to devote himself. You know, it's like I say, look at all the like greatest romance novels, all the greatest romance films, and don't give me the bullshit that it's fiction, it's not real, it's fantasy, because I'm writing a whole book about how it's not fiction. It is complete reality. It just has dragons and castles and things like that. Again, that's a whole nother video. It's a whole nother book that's like, I'm in the process of like writing. Where was I going with that? Yeah, it looks different. Like, my feminine contributions are the energy that our household, like, I am the energetic epicenter of our house. Like, if anybody else in our house, my kids, my husband, the dogs, the cats, can be having a really shit day, and it won't tip the balance in our household. If I have a crap day, everybody feels it in this house. Not because I'm some crazy Godzilla like mom and wife, but because my energy is actually incredibly central to the whole of this household. Like, my kids' energy is very central towards my energy. like my husband has very much learned that he almost doesn't need to worry too much about the kids. Not because he's not a good father and he doesn't like contribute to that. He's an amazing father who's very hands-on, but he knows if I'm in a good place, my kids are always in a good place, kind of thing. You know, like my contributions are even small things. Like I'm just like sat here in my lounge now and I'm looking and I've got a vase of peonies on the dining room table that my husband bought me just randomly one morning. And that little touch that gives our home, that bit of nature, like the way it's been like arranged in that vase, like it's really funny when you look at like a lot of men that like live by themselves, like my dad, for example. You know, he lives by himself and he does a fantastic job of taking care of himself, but he doesn't have anything really beautiful in his house that's like really alive and that's creating like atmosphere. And funnily enough, all the things that he does have are left over from his partner, who sadly passed away a while back now. It was the year we got married, so what was it, 14 odd years ago, 12 years ago. Is it our 12th year? I don't know. Anyway, like all of it is still left over from all the beautiful work that she did inside of their home. Now, again, I'm not stereotyping. I'm not saying that like men can't put beautiful things in houses and all of that kind of stuff. Absolutely not. Everybody's different. But the feminine qualities, you know, like the softness that I bring to the house, the fact that, you know, my husband can come in and be quite direct and quite, you know, scheduled about we need to do this, we need to do that. And I bring in this, okay, that's really great, but can we add some flexibility in here for the kids? Because, you know, they'll be a bit tired after school. So can we give them a bit of time to unwind before we go do that? Like, I am aware of like everybody's kind of needs in that sense and taking account for it. Like there's so many different qualities that the feminine brings, but so many of them are really not very visible. They're things that you will like notice once it's not there. And so like this is where I think people get really wadded up in it, because it's just, you know, money seems to be this thing that it's like, well, unless you're contributing, unless you can see on paper what your physical contributions are, you aren't contributing. But contribution can look very different across the board. And so I just wanted to come on and share my own like personal experience and just, I suppose, my perspective on how I see that debate that often happens within relationships. And like I say, just like how kind of sad it was to see that reel and to understand why both those individuals, like why neither of them were happy with that situation. So I'd be interested. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you've kind of felt this in your relationship, or what you resonate with. And we shall see. I might be posting some more videos. I'm going to see how things go. I'm possibly going to take things in a bit of a different direction. And maybe I'll create some more videos around that, about all of the deep diving work that I've been doing over the past, what's it been, probably like nearly a year now. There's been a lot of inner work. There's been a lot of reassessing things, but this video felt like it wanted to be made today, so I've created it and I'm going to put it out there for you guys. So I hope you enjoy it, and let's hope I see you in the next one. Have a great day, whatever you're doing, and I will hopefully catch you soon.